Before Adele was making us cry into our wine with Someone Like You, there was a soul sister who was already pouring heartbreak, power, and raw talent into every damn lyric. And get this, she was a petite white girl from Santa Monica with the voice of a gospel queen and the swagger of a funk legend. Yeah, we're talking about Teena Marie, the Ivory Queen of Soul, the blue-eyed powerhouse who rolled with Rick James, flipped the music industry on its head, and lived a life that was messy, magical, and way too short. Buckle up, babe. Teena's story is a wild ride through fame, funk, lawsuits, heartbreak, and straight-up spiritual revelations. Let's spill this musical tea. It's 1956 in the beachy town of Santa Monica, California. Mary Christine Brockert, aka Teena Marie, entered the world with a whole lot of soul already in her bones. Now, her family was classic SoCal Italian American, and nobody could have predicted this girl would end up being one of the most revered voices in R&B. But honey, from the moment she opened her mouth, it was giving Aretha Franklin meets Janis Joplin with a side of church choir realness. By age 2, she was performing Harry Belafonte songs. By 5, she was strutting her stuff in beauty pageants and making appearances on the Beverly Hillbillies.
You're a nice man.
But we love you.
That's right, our girl was a Hollywood baby, but she wasn't chasing the spotlight. The spotlight chased her. Fast forward to her teenage years, Teena was deep in the music game. She played piano, guitar, and drums. She was writing songs and soaking in that Motown magic like a sponge. After graduating from Venice High and dabbling in college, she finally caught the ear of the big dogs over at Motown Records.
And luckily, I ran into a producer who knew Barry. He was doing a television pilot, and he wanted me to star in it.
But here's the kicker. They didn't even know she was white. Yup, they heard the voice and thought, this is our next soul diva. Imagine their faces. When Lil Teena Marie walked into the room blonde, tiny, and absolutely not what they expected. But Teena wasn't about to apologize for that voice, and neither was Rick James. Oh, baby, this is where it gets spicy. Teena and Rick, a match made in musical heaven and tabloid hell. He took her under his wing, produced her debut album Wild and Peaceful in 1979, and gave the world that unforgettable duet, I'm a Sucker for Your Love. Their chemistry? Off the charts. We're talking so hot the mic almost melted. Rumors flew about whether they were lovers, besties, or soulmates. The truth? Probably all of the above, plus a ton of chaos. Their relationship was intense. Rick was all fire and flare. Teena was the grounding force with a backbone made of titanium. They fought, they created magic, and they made headlines. And when Teena was ready to fly solo, she didn't tiptoe, she kicked down the damn door. Her second album, Lady T, dropped in 1980 and showed the world that Teena Marie was not Rick's sidekick. She was a whole damn force of nature. Then came Irons in the Fire, her first self-produced album. Let's pause there. A black-owned label, a white woman, producing her own funk R&B album in 1980. Teena was smashing barriers like it was just another Tuesday. But behind the scenes? Oh, honey, Motown was pulling shady moves. They shelved her albums, withheld royalties, and tried to keep her locked in a contract with no releases. But Teena wasn't the one. She sued them under the California Labor Code in what became the now famous Brockert Initiative, a law that says a record label can't keep an artist tied up forever without releasing their work. Baby, she made history. And that lawsuit? It changed the game for every artist that came after her. By the time the 80s hit full swing, Teena Marie was owning it. She dropped It Must Be Magic, her last Motown album, and her first certified gold. With hits like Square Biz and Portuguese Love, Teena was officially an R&B goddess. And let's be real, she had bars. Teena was rapping on Square Biz before half of today's pop girls even knew what a beat was. And she did it in heels and pearls, no less. Then she signed with Epic Records and gave us Lover Girl. You know the song. That synth-pop funk fusion that made you want to throw on neon leggings and do a hair flip in the mirror. The album Star Child went platinum. Everyone was eating out of the palm of her hand. But the 90s? Whew, that's when things got complicated. Teena was still making music, don't get it twisted, but the industry was changing, and she wasn't about to compromise her sound for trends. Labels weren't pushing her the same way. Radio stations were sleeping on her, and the world seemed to forget the impact she'd made. But real fans? We never stopped bumping Out on a Limb like it was a fresh heartbreak. Then came tragedy in 2004. Rick James died. And for Teena, it wasn't just losing a friend, it was like losing a piece of herself.
And his musical genius and slick sense of style would one day define a quantum moment in our culture.
They had been through it all. The music, the madness, the love, the lawsuits. Teena poured that grief into Ladonia, her comeback album after a decade away. And baby, she came back swinging. That album went top 10 on the Billboard 200. She was back in the game, and she was still that girl. And can we talk about Congo Square in 2009?
Congo Square is a place in the French Quarter where in slavery times the slaves were allowed to go dance and sing on Sundays.
An album that paid tribute to her roots, her heroes, and her journey. It was personal. It was soulful. It was vintage Teena with a spiritual twist. By this point, she wasn't just singing, she was preaching. But behind the scenes, things were getting heavy. Teena suffered a serious head injury in 2004 when a picture frame fell on her in a hotel room. Yeah, you heard that right. A freak accident that led to seizures and chronic pain.
I had a huge picture fall off a hotel room wall and hit me in the head while I was sleeping.
It changed her whole life. But did she stop performing? Girl, no. She kept showing up, hitting those high notes, and giving fans every ounce of her soul.
He'll never be there when I sing Fire and Desire again, but I can feel him in spirit.
She was also a devoted mama to her daughter, Aaliyah Rose, who was starting to follow in her footsteps. Teena was so proud she was raising a new generation of souls.
My fourth time doing it. I'm really excited tonight because I'm singing with my daughter. And the first time I did it, she was only 3 months old.
And here's the tea you didn't hear on the radio. Teena was a total studio perfectionist. Like she'd make engineers redo a vocal take a dozen times until it gave her chills. She once reportedly slept in the studio for 3 nights straight, just to finish layering the harmonies on Casanova Brown. That's dedication, baby. And she wasn't just about her own bag. Teena quietly mentored younger artists, especially women of color, behind the scenes. She gave vocal coaching tips to unsigned talent and even helped bankroll studio time for rising singers who reminded her of herself back in the day. She never bragged about it. That's the kind of soul she had. Oh, and let's not forget Teena was a poet too. Like, she had full notebooks of lyrics and poems that never even made it to wax. Some of her unreleased material was found after her death, and rumor has it that Aaliyah Rose might drop a posthumous album with some of it. Fingers crossed. And then it all stopped. On December 26, 2010, Teena Marie was found dead in her Pasadena home. She was only 54. No drugs, no scandal, just a seizure that took her in her sleep. It was quiet, peaceful, and utterly devastating.
Death of R&B singer Teena Marie, the woman who was known as the Ivory Queen of Soul, died Christmas night in her sleep.
The tributes came pouring in. Everyone from Lenny Kravitz to Queen Latifah to Erykah Badu said what we all knew. Teena was one of the greats, an icon, a soul pioneer who never got the flowers she deserved in her lifetime. But let's be real, Teena Marie wasn't in it for fame. She was in it for the music. The truth in every lyric, the feeling in every note, and that voice, that once-in-a-generation voice, it lives on. She left behind a legacy of raw artistry, unfiltered emotion, and unbreakable strength. And baby, if you've ever wailed Fire and Desire at 2 a.m. with a glass of red wine in your hand, then you know Teena Marie stays relevant. So the next time you hear someone talk about a blue-eyed soul, don't even let them finish the sentence unless they say Teena's name first.